the cost of storage, the need for storage. At IQ for H2, we do a lot of sort of general project planning, early feasibility and feed studies and consulting for folks across the whole value chain. And if you ask me the most overlooked aspect of projects when we have developers in the room, it's number one is the need for storage, and number two is the cost of storage. I've seen a lot of studies, paper studies, or techno-economic analysis on this topic, and they're typically pretty good. You're seeing maybe a 10 to 20% of the project cost is in storage alone. And honestly, I think that's a good sort of rule of thumb. Obviously, um, there's going to be different metrics based on offtake and agreements and whether you can blend or have access to pipelines or whatever it may be. But you really need buffer storage on both the end use side as well as the production side. And it's such an overlooked metric. So it certainly isn't trivial, and you must plan for this as a developer. The cost of storage can be a significant part of your overall project cost. Heading back to sort of the first question on technologies, I've already hit sort of gaseous aspects on the distribution side with pipelines. And I think you have similar benefits with keeping the molecule gaseous on the storage side. Again, passing some of the liquid hydrogen stuff to Corey, who knows about that market a lot better than me. Let's explore some other technologies, stuff we hear on webinars or in conferences, stuff like liquid organic hydrogen carriers, metal hydrides, or even hydrogen carriers like e-fuels, like ammonia or methanol. I think with the former two, liquid organic hydrogen carriers and hydrides, you really have to think about your use case and the usability of hydrogen when it's coming out of storage. For example, I've seen several times, metal hydride companies present about their technology and how it's great. They can store at ambient pressure. But a lot of hydrogen applications, you need higher pressure, right? So then you're coupling with a compressor, and you have to make it sort of usable in whatever market you're going to be in. Whether it's medium heavy duty, or maybe you're at a half pressure 350 bar, or maybe you're up to 700 bar applications. And so these considerations, there's always a combination of balance of plant with the storage that you have to consider. But for a lot of applications, it makes it difficult. So, sort of transitioning over to these carriers, this carrier approach, I tend to like a lot of the arguments we hear about carriers like ammonia, like methanol. However, there's always an asterisk, and it's a significant asterisk when we're talking about carriers, is when you take that renewable hydrogen and you put it into a carrier, you have to understand the market you're then playing in. For example, like I used to have a colleague that swore by so-called like e-fuels, right? And we always tried to promote biomethanation. And honestly, like when you look at it, you're taking a green molecule and you're putting it into methane, which for the sake of, keeping all the infrastructure the same and whatever it may be, maybe makes sense. But on a price basis, biomethanation, it's not going to compete with conventional natural gas on a price basis sort of ever. But then on like a traditional ways to produce RNG from dairy farms, from waste management facilities, you're still outcompeted. So carries are really interesting as a bridge fuel, or maybe as temporary movement with ammonia, methanol. But you really have to understand the markets you're going in when you start playing with e-fuels, because it's not the hydrogen market at that point. You're playing with different metrics. So sort of circling back to gaseous, I'll end my thought with this. We got to really look at this from a holistic approach when we talk about storage and distribution. And we have to look at it from sort of the production to the end use side. And when you look at both the production and end use side of the equation, you likely have a very distributed model for both. We need technologies that are easier to implement while being capable of scaling. I just don't see something like how liquefaction fits into the distributed model. So I think carriers and gaseous hydrogen tend to win out with those scenarios. Again, industrial gas side of the equation are much different stories. They can have close coupling of resources, centralized production, control the value chain of the processes. That's, liquid can be definitely play a part there. But to me, the whole point of what we're doing with the hydrogen market, with this expansion, is on the promise of renewable hydrogen. So, we're likely going to land on a need for pipeline distribution, gaseous form, and gaseous storage that can scale. So, I'm very bullish on gaseous storage at scale and at higher pressures. And I think when you look at the usability mixed with the CapEx and OpEx, it will ultimately win out.